Imagine a text so ancient, so, so rich. It claims the power to wash away sins just by listening.
Hmm.
A scripture that weaves together these epic royal lineages, cosmic battles, and, well, really surprising tales of human and divine nature.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're diving into today.
Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to explore Book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana, aptly titled The Royal Dynasties.
Right.
And forget dusty old scriptures. Think of this as more of a journey through divine history, sort of unraveling the tapestry of kings, sages, and deities that shape the universe, at least according to this profound text.
And what a journey it promises to be. We're taking a deep, chapter-by-chapter look at this ancient Indian scripture.
Yeah.
Our goal is really to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight from, the grand cosmological order right down to the subtle philosophical teachings about time, space, and the very nature of existence.
Exactly.
You'll hear about everything from why we blink to how attachment can lead to liberation, even unbelievably, through intense hatred.
It's pretty wild stuff.
We'll be paying close attention to the flow and tone of the original text, using important Sanskrit terms, and providing brief English explanations to guide you along. This isn't just history. It's like a window into a universe vibrant with moral lessons and karmic metaphors.
Absolutely.
So what stands out to you as we embark on this journey into the ancient annals of the god with lotus eyes? Let's unpack this.
Okay, let's begin with Chapter 1, the Solar Dynasty, the lineage of Manu. So this part of the Puras, it opens with a plea. It's from Maitreya to his guru, Parashara.
Right.
Maitreya, having discussed duties and rights and all that, now he wants to know about the historical lineages.
Okay.
And Parashara's promise in return is, well, it's profound. He says, reflecting on Manu's lineage, which descends directly from Brahma, prevents one's own family line from being broken.
Wow.
And just hearing it washes away all sins. It truly sets a high bar for the listener right from the start.
It certainly does. And the text immediately grounds this history in cosmic origins, tracing the solar dynasty back to Lord Brahma, Hiranyagarbha, who apparently just appeared from the cosmic egg.
Spontaneously, yeah.
This Brahma is described as an incarnate form of the Absolute, embodying the Agga Yajur and Samavedas.
Right, the core scriptures.
And from Brahma, the line quickly descends. Daka, then his daughter Aditi, whose son was the sun, and finally the sun's son was Manu.
So it's a very quick connection from the divine, that huge universal scale, down to the earthly royal lines.
Right.
Manu, of course, had many sons, but one of the most intriguing stories is that of Ila.
Yeah.
Manu desired another son, performed a sacrifice to Mitra and Varuna, but an error by the priest resulted in the birth of a daughter, Ila.
Oh, dear.
But then, by divine grace, she was transformed into a son, Sudyumna.
Okay, problem solved.
Not quite, because due to Lord Siva's anger, Sudyumna became a woman again,
What?
met Buddha, the son of the moon, and bore a son, Pururavas.
This is quite the roller coaster.
It is. And in a further twist, great sages performed another sacrifice, this time to Lord Vishnu, who then turned Ila back into Sudyumna.
Wow.
This, gender fluidity and divine intervention, it's a fascinating aspect of these ancient narratives, really highlights the power of divine will.
The consequences for Sudyumna were quite telling, though. He received no share of his father's kingdom because he'd been a woman,
Right.
but was granted the city of Pratihana for a son, Pururavas. So it highlights not just lineage, but also these unique karmic consequences.
Definitely. And other sons also face significant fates. Pandra, for example, was reduced to the status of a Shudra, the lowest social class, for inadvertently killing his guru's cow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it immediately highlights the strict karmic consequences and the immense sanctity placed upon a guru and, well, all life within this tradition.
Very clear message there.
What's truly fascinating, though, is the story of Ravata from Yayati's lineage. He ruled Kushastali, and he journeyed to Brahma's realm to find a husband for his daughter Ravati. While there, he listened to these heavenly songs. And the text describes this mind-bending concept of time dilation. It says, even though Ravata waited for many entire cycles of ages, it seemed that he'd only been listening for a moment.
Whoa, like relativity, but, thousands of years ago.
Exactly. And Brahma then revealed the astonishing truth. The potential husbands Ravata had approved of, even their great-grandchildren, are no longer living.
No way.
Yeah. Many yugas, or ages, had passed. The Kali age was about to begin.
So what was he supposed to do?
Brahma counseled Revata to give Revati to Balarama, an aspect of Lord Keshava, or Vitnu,
Oh.
who now resided in Dwarka, which used to be Kushtali.
So when Ravata returned to Earth, he found everyone, like, shorter and less vigorous?
Pretty much. And Balarama, seeing the very tall Revati, because people were apparently taller back then, used his plowshare weapon.
His weapon.
Yep, his plowshare weapon, to reduce her to the height of other women before marrying her.
A rather direct approach, to say the least.
You could say that. Ravata, his duty fulfilled, then retired to the Himalaya for austerities. It's a really vivid story that intertwines vast cosmic time with very personal, almost humorous details.
Yeah.
All while emphasizing the impermanence of mortal life compared to these huge cosmic cycles.
So ends chapter 1 in book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
Okay, we now turn to chapter 2. Manu's sons Dutatha, Nabhaga, and Ikshvaku. This chapter, it continues exploring the tapestry of Manu's descendants.
Right.
From Nabhaga's line, we see this interesting fluidity in social roles. Some descendants emerged as both Kshatriya, that's the warrior class, and Brahmin, the priestly class, which, might surprise our modern understanding of these social categories.
Yeah, we tend to think of them as more rigid. And from Ikshvaku's line, we get some truly unique tales.
Oh, definitely.
Like Yuvanashva, who was childless. Sages performed a sacrifice for him to bear a son, but in the night, Yuvanashva accidentally drank the consecrated water meant for his wife. Big oops. Consequently, an infant began to grow in Yuvanashva's own belly and was eventually born from his right flank.
Wow. Male pregnancy in the Pudas.
Right. And when the Sangjas wondered how the baby would be nourished, Indra, the king of gods, appeared, put his finger in the baby's mouth, gave him nectar from his hand, and famously said, "He'll entrust it to me," or Mam Dasyati.
Ah, so that's the name origin.
Exactly. That's how the child was named Mathatu. This child matured in just one day and went on to rule all 7 continents.
Incredible. But perhaps the most profound story in this chapter, a truly timeless truth, is that of Sage Safari and Mathati's 50 daughters.
Oh yes, this one's memorable.
Safari was a sage, living underwater for 12 years, deep in meditation. He shared a pool with the king of fish, and daily he watched this fish just, frolicking joyfully with its countless children and grandchildren.
Seems idyllic.
It does, but ironically, seeing this simple, familial joy, Safari's mind began to waver. He developed a strong desire for a family of his own. Yeah, it's an incredible insight into how subtle influences, even seemingly innocent ones, can drastically shift a spiritual path.
It's so relatable, isn't it? That moment when something external, even small, can completely change your focus.
Exactly.
So compelled by this desire, Savari, wizened by age, leaves the water and approaches King Mathapu to ask for one of his 50 beautiful daughters in marriage.
Right.
The king was hesitant, understandably, due to Savari's aged appearance.
Makes sense.
Savari, sensing this, used his ascetic power to transform himself into a form more handsome than any god or man.
Wow.
And here's where desire's power really takes hold. All 50 daughters, filled with love and passion, immediately fought amongst themselves, each claiming him as her own.
50 daughters. What's fascinating is the sheer scale of the sage's power and the illusion he created.
How so?
Savari married all 50, and using his miraculous ability, he built these magnificent palaces, each with endless treasures for every single wife. When King Mathet visited, he found each of his daughters believing she was the sage's sole focus, because he miraculously seemed to be with all of them all the time.
A complete illusion of individual happiness.
Maintained by the sage's immense power.
But the illusion couldn't and didn't last. As the princesses bore Sobari 150 sons,
A lot.
the sage's desires, instead of diminishing, multiplied. He wanted to see grandsons, then great-grandsons.
Oh, dear.
This led to his profound realization, a truly fundamental philosophical insight. There's no end to my desires. Even if all the wishes made in 10,000 years or 100,000 years are satisfied, further desires will still arise.
Wow.
He recognized that attachment, Saga, even a seemingly innocent one to a friendly folk, had led him to marriage, which then led to this infinite cascade of desires and suffering.
Right.
He declared, freedom from attachment is the basis of liberation for ascetics. Attachment is the source of all my problems.
This isn't just an ancient sage's tale, it's a timeless truth. Think about how our own modern desires, even for seemingly good things like family or success, can just multiply endlessly.
Absolutely.
So Vari's journey really asks us, how much is enough? And how do we find freedom, not by getting more, but by understanding where true satisfaction actually lies?
So what did he do?
He resolved to dedicate his mind to Vidun to escape rebirth. Along with his wives, he abandoned everything, entered the forest, performed intense austerities, purified his thoughts, and ultimately attained the eternal state beyond birth and death.
Amazing.
And the moral of this incredible story is that simply recalling Sofari's journey frees one from disrespect, error, and individual anxieties for 8 lives. It's a powerful testament to introspection and detachment.
So ends chapter 2 in book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
We now turn to chapter 3. The descendants of Ambara. Mathatsya Ambara's lineage leads to a king named Purukutsa, and his story begins in the lower realm of Rasatala. Here, the Naga kings, these powerful serpent beings, were being plundered by 60 million Maunaya Gandharvas.
60 million.
Yeah. In their distress, the Nagas roused Vitu, who assured them that Purukutsa, imbued with the Lord's power, would help. The Nagas then dispatched Narmada, the river goddess and a princess, to summon Purukutsa.
So Purukutsa goes down there.
He does. Empowered by Vitu, he conquers the Gandharvas, freeing the Nagas. In gratitude, the Nagas granted Narmada a remarkable boon. Anyone who invokes her name will be safe from venomous snakes.
Oh, that's useful.
Very. The text even provides a protective verse. I bow to Narmada in the morning. I bow to Narmada at night. Narmada, I bow to you. Protect me from all poisonous snakes.
It's fascinating how practical protective mantras are embedded right within these heroic tales. Makes ancient history directly applicable.
Exactly. Purukutsa's lineage then leads to Trishanku, who was reduced to the status of an untouchable.
Right, but there's more to his story.
Yes, during a 12-year drought, Triseku selflessly provided venison for the sage Vijamitra's family, upholding a really delicate dharma without direct contact.
Which was important.
Very pleased by this unwavering dedication, Vijamitra, in a powerful act, raised Triseku to heaven in his bodily form.
Wow, a rare and miraculous ascension.
Indeed. And from Triseku's line, we get to Bahu, whose pregnant wife, tragically, was given poison by her co-wives.
I know.
Yet the fetus remained in her womb for 7 years. This child was born along with the poison, Sagareta, hence named Sagara.
Sagara, okay, I know that name. Was particularly significant here is Sagara's vow, right?
Yes. Anxious to reclaim his father's kingdom, he vowed to destroy the Haihayas and other tribes. As Sagara attacked the Sakas, Yavanas, and other groups, they sought refuge with his guru, Vasiha.
And Vasiye.
Well, to prevent their complete slaughter, he struck a compromise. He allowed them to live, but caused them to abandon Vedic traditions and be shunned by Brahmins, basically reducing them to barbarians with distinct appearances, like shaved heads or long beards.
So this serves as an origin myth for various distinct groups in ancient India, explaining their customs and social standing through a karmic lens and highlighting the importance of adhering to Vedic principles.
So ends chapter 3 in book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
Let's move on to chapter 4. Sagara's sons excavate the ocean. The story of Rama. King Sagara, he had 2 wives. One bore him a single son, but the other, Sumati, had 60,000 sons through a boon.
60,000? That's a lot of sons.
It is. And these 60,000, along with the first son, were apparently quite ill-behaved, causing concern among the gods, who appealed to the sage Kapila.
Ah, Kapila. This leads to a pivotal event, doesn't it?
It does. Sagara performed a horse sacrifice in Ashvamedha, but the sacred horse was stolen and hidden in an underground cavern.
So the 60,000 sons go looking for it.
They do. Following its hoofprints, they diligently dug down 1 league into the earth. This colossal excavation is given as the origin of the ocean,
Wow.
which was later named Sagara in their honor. They eventually found the horse and the sage Kapila, and they weren't exactly polite about it.
Not at all. Accusing him of theft, the arrogant sons wielded their weapons. Kapila, with just a glance, reduced all 60,000 to ashes with fire from his own body.
A powerful demonstration of a sage's wrath.
And divine power, yes. After this devastating event, Sagara sent Achumant, a virtuous grandson, to retrieve the horse.
And Kapila was okay with him.
Yes. Kapila granted Achumant a boon. His descendants would bring the sacred Gaga from heaven to purify his uncle's ashes, thereby granting them heaven.
which emphasizes the immense purifying power of the Gaga.
Exactly, especially described as the water that flows across the toes of blessed Van. It was Dilipa's son, Bhagirath, who is famously credited with actually leading the Gaga to Earth, hence the river also being known as Bhagirati.
The chapter also quickly transitions to the great epic of Rama.
Right. Lord Ve manifests aspects of himself as Dashratha's 4 sons, Rama, Lakama, Bharata, and Shatrughna, all for the preservation of the world.
And the text just summarizes Rama's key feats.
Yeah, it's like a highlight reel. Slaying demonesses, cleansing Ahalya's sins, snapping Shiva's bow to win Sita, entering the forest on his father's orders, killing powerful Rakshasas, and the monkey king Valin, building the bridge to Lanka, and ultimately destroying Ravana.
Even Sita's purity confirmed by fire itself.
And the inhabitants of Kosala, Rama's kingdom, achieve a heavenly state because of their unwavering devotion to him.
The moral for us in hearing this vast recounting is simple yet powerful. Hearing these accomplishments frees one from all misdeeds.
So ends Chapter 4 in Book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
Our deep dive continues with Chapter 5, The Legend of Nimi, Why We Blink. Okay, this chapter opens with a really fascinating story of a curse and its surprising outcome. It originates from a conflict between Ikshvaku's son Nimi and the sage Vasya over who would officiate at a 1,000-year sacrifice. Nimi, without informing Vasita, invited other sages.
Which didn't go down well. When Vasya returned and discovered this, he cursed Nimi, who was asleep at the time, to lose his bodily form. But Nimi, in turn, cursed Vasita for cursing him without warning while he was asleep. This act of mutual cursing, it's a common trope in these ancient narratives.
Yeah, you see it quite a bit.
Showcasing the power and, well, sometimes the volatile nature of the sages.
But what's truly captivating about Nimi's story, and this is really an aha moment, is the boon he receives at the end of his sacrifice.
Right. The deities offer Nimi a wish.
And he chooses to remain in the eyes of all living things, but never again shall I take a physical form.
The deities grant this wish, and this is why, as the text states, all living things blink, or Nimea. It's a beautiful, symbolic origin story for such a fundamental human action, connecting our everyday existence to a divine narrative.
It really is. Since Nimi had no son to continue his lineage, the sages intervened again, generating a boy from his body, named Janaka, meaning generated.
He was also called Vaideha because his father was without a body, Videha.
The lineage then leads to Suratvaja, and as a clear link to the Ramayana epic, it mentions that while Suratvaja was plowing the sacrificial ground, a daughter, Sita, appeared at the tip of his plowshare.
And the Maithila kings, the descendants in this lineage, were known for their profound knowledge of the self, elevating their historical significance beyond just temporal rule, really highlighting their spiritual wisdom as a core characteristic.
So ends Chapter 5 in Book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
Now let's journey into Chapter 6, the Lunar Dynasty. Maitreya, having heard of the Solar Dynasty, now requests details of the Lunar Dynasty. Purusara traces its origins back through Brahma, to his son Atri, and then to Atri's son Soma, who is the moon god.
Right.
Brahma himself consecrated Soma as the sovereign over all plant life, Brahmins, and constellations, establishing the divine and cosmic importance of this new royal line.
And with that importance came a bit of arrogance.
A lot of arrogance.
Yeah.
Soma, proud after performing a Rajasuya, a royal coronation sacrifice, abducted Tara, the wife of Baspati, the preceptor of all the deities.
Not a good move.
Definitely not. Despite pleas from Brahma and sages, Soma refused to return her. This ignited a terrible conflict known as the Taraka War, the war over Tara, a cosmic clash caused by one being's hubris.
A war over an abduction.
The war shook the entire world. Everyone sought refuge with Brahma, who intervened, finally returning Tara. She gave birth in a bed of reeds, and the child's splendor led to suspicion.
About the father.
Exactly. Tara, ashamed, initially refused to name the father. Even the child himself, in a display of remarkable precocity, tried to curse her for her silence.
Wow.
Brahma then intervened again, and Tara confessed the child was Soma's. Soma, delighted, named the child Buddha, meaning clever, a pivotal figure as he is the father of Pururavas.
Okay, so this Buddha and Ila's son is Pururavas. And then comes the well-known story of Pururavas in Urasha.
Right, the Apsaras, the celestial nymph, cursed to live on Earth.
She fell in love with Pururavas, but their union was bound by a strict pact.
A very specific pact. She would be his lover only if he never removed her 2 pet sheep, never saw him naked, and she ate only butter.
Sets up the drama nicely. Underscores the fickleness of desire.
And of course, the pact is broken. The Gandharvas cunningly stole the sheep one by one. Pururavas, rushing out in the darkness, was revealed naked by a flash of light. Urva vanished instantly.
Just like that.
Just like that. Pururavas, still desiring union, sought a way to share a realm with Urvas. The Gandharvas gave him a brazier. He forgot it, and it transformed into 2 trees, an Ashvatthama with a shami growing through it. Pururavas realized these trees were fire in another form. He used them to make a fire stick, measured precisely according to the Gayatri mantra, and then divided the fire into 3.
The 3 sacred fires.
Exactly. By performing fire sacrifices with these 3 fires, he finally achieved union with Urvashi in the Gandharva realm. This is a profound cosmological statement within the Purana. In the beginning, there was but a single fire, but during the current Manvantara, Eli's son divided it in 3. It offers a divine origin for sacred rituals and the very nature of fire.
So ends chapter 6 in book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
Our journey through the royal dynasties continues with chapter 7. King Janu drinks the Goga dry.
Okay, that title grabs your attention.
It does. Puravas's lineage leads us to a king named Janu. The narrative dramatically recounts how Janu, infuriated by the sacred Gagar River flooding his sacrificial enclosure, used his immense yogic powers to simply drink the entire river dry.
We drank the Gagaga.
The whole thing. It's a powerful demonstration of a sage's incredible spiritual might and a clear example of the river being personified as a divine entity.
So what happened then? Did the river just disappear?
Well, what's fascinating is the resolution. The divine sages placated Janu, and he, in turn, accepted the river as his daughter.
Ah, so it becomes family.
Exactly. This act transformed the Goga from an adversary into a sacred family member. Janu's line then leads to Gadi, who had a daughter named Satyavati. The sage Shika desired to marry her.
Right.
And Gadi demanded a seemingly impossible bride price. 1,000 fleet-footed horses, each as white as the moon with 1 black ear.
But Ashiko, being a powerful sage, managed it.
He magically procured them from Varuta and married Satyavati. For progeny, Ashika prepared 2 bowls of sacred gruel, or karu, one for Satyavati imbued with Brahminical virtues, peace, knowledge, and one for her mother imbued with Kshatriya virtues, glory, strength, courage. And he strictly instructed them not to mix them up.
But they did, didn't they?
And here's the twist of fate and a key lesson in karmic consequences. The mother, desiring an outstanding son for herself, convinced Satyavati to swap the gruel. When Jika returned, he immediately discovered the swap. He revealed that because of this, Satyavati's son would be a fearsome warrior, while her mother's son would be a peaceful Brahmin.
So the opposite of what was intended.
Exactly. Satyavati, distraught, pleaded for her own son to be spared this warrior nature, requesting the warrior spirit be transferred to her grandson instead. The sage agreed.
Wow, so fate could be altered.
By maternal love and supplication, yes. And the prophecy, altered, came to pass. Satyavati gave birth to Jamadagni, who would later father Parashurama.
The destroyer of Kshatriyas.
That's him, an aspect of Lord Narayan. Her mother, meanwhile, bore Vibhamitra, who, as foretold, became a revered Brahmin sage.
Incredible.
This story vividly illustrates the profound effects of action and intention and how fate can be bent by divine will and earnest supplication.
So ends chapter 7 in book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
We continue our exploration with chapter 8, the descendants of Purava's son Ayus. This chapter gives us some interesting insights into the evolution of social order. Ayus's son Suhotra leads us to Sanaka, who is credited with establishing the system of 4 communities, or Varnas.
So the Purana itself shows these systems developing over time.
Exactly. It highlights the idea that social structures, rather than being static, developed and were refined.
This chapter also connects the royal lineages to the origins of traditional medicine, right?
Yes, very significantly. Koshi's line leads to Dhanvantari, who is an incredibly important figure. Lord Narayan granted Dhanvantari a boon to be born as a master of every branch of knowledge in each rebirth.
Wow.
In this particular life, he was born into the Kshiraja clan, and it was he who composed the complete 8-fold Ayurveda, the ancient science of life and medicine.
The foundation of Ayurveda.
Pretty much. He was even granted a portion of sacrifices. This directly links these ancient royal families to the sacred origins of healing knowledge.
And it also mentions those incredibly long lifespans again.
Oh, yes. The text emphasizes the mythical long lifespans of these ancient kings with a verse sung about Alarka. For 60,000 years and 6,000 more, None other than young Alarka ruled the world.
66,000 years. Hard to even imagine.
So ends chapter 8 in book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
Next up, chapter 9. Gaia's son Raji usurps Indra. Okay, another attention-grabbing title.
Definitely. Raji, a son of Uz, was a powerful king with 500 strong sons during a monumental war between the gods and demigods.
A common theme.
Yes. Both sides sought advice from Brahma on who would be victorious. Brahma declared. The side for which Raji takes up arms and fights.
So Raji becomes the key player, a kingmaker, or rather a godmaker.
Essentially, yes. The Daityas, the demigods, approached Raji first, but he demanded to be king if he helped, which they refused.
Okay.
Then the gods approached him, and they readily agreed to accept him as their sovereign if he helped them win.
So Raji picks the god's side.
He does. Supported by the army of the gods, he went on to vanquish all the forces of the demigods. Indra, the sovereign of the three realms, humbly acknowledged Raji as a father figure.
But the story of power and usurpation continues, doesn't it?
It does. After Raji's death, his 500 sons, encouraged by the sage Narada,
again stirring things up.
Always. They brazenly petitioned Indra to confer sovereignty upon them. When Indra refused, they defeated him and usurped his position.
So Indra loses his throne.
He does. Deprived of his status, he sought the help of Bahaspati, the preceptor of the gods.
Bahaspati, the strategist. What did he do?
He performed sacrifices specifically designed to confuse Raji's sons, leading them to reject true religion and Vedic teachings.
Undermining their righteousness.
Exactly. As soon as they abandoned Dharma, their righteousness, Indra was able to destroy them and regained his power over the three worlds.
Quite the turnaround.
And the lesson from this cyclical loss and restoration of power is clearly stated. Anyone who hears how Indra lost, then won his status back again, will never suffer anguish should he lose his own position.
A powerful teaching on resilience in the face of loss, even for the king of gods.
So ends chapter 9 in book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
Our journey continues with chapter 10. Ayush's grandson, Yayati, exchanges old age for youth. Okay, I remember Yayati.
Yes. Nahua, the previous king, had 6 powerful sons. The eldest, Yayati, had no desire for sovereignty, so Yayati became the king. Yayati married 2 women, Devayani and Surmitha, and had sons with both.
And what's fascinating about Yayati's story is the curse, right?
Correct. He was cursed by the poet Ushanas to grow old before his time. However, through divine permission, Yayati gained a unique ability. He could transfer his old age to another person.
So he tried to pass it off to his sons.
He did. He approached his sons, asking them to exchange their youth for his old age for 1,000 years, because, as he put it, he was not yet sated with the pleasures of life.
And most of them refused.
His eldest sons, Yadu, Turvasu, Druyu, and Anu, all refused. And Yayati cursed them in response, notably stating that Yadu's descendants would never be fit to rule.
And here's where the true generosity and the core philosophical lesson comes in.
Exactly. Yayati then asked Surmiha's youngest son, Puru, to take on his old age.
And Puru agreed.
He did. With a truly selfless and generous disposition, Puru accepted his father's old age, giving his own youth in return. For 1,000 years, Yayati indulged in every pleasure imaginable, enjoying life to the fullest.
1,000 years of youth regained.
But this is a crucial section for its profound philosophical discourse on the futility of chasing desires. Even after 1,000 years of pleasure, Yayati realizes that desire remains insatiable.
Right, the famous analogy.
Yes, the text uses that powerful, memorable analogy. Desires cannot be satisfied when you indulge them. A fire flares up with every offering of butter.
So vivid.
It continues, stating that all the rice, barley, gold, cattle, and women in the world cannot satisfy a man. He must therefore cast off desire. It also highlights a harsh truth. Hair grows white with age, and with age the teeth decay. But love of money and love of life never wither, even as one grows old.
That's incredibly powerful, isn't it? It makes you think about how we constantly chase the next thing, believing it will finally satisfy us, only to find that desire simply grows or shifts.
Absolutely. So after this millennium of indulgence, Yayati finally has his profound realization. He states, "I've spent 1,000 years, my heart obsessed with pleasure, but every day desire for more still grows in me."
The penny drops.
It does. He resolves to abandon these endless desires and set his mind on the absolute, seeking liberation from such a fruitless pursuit. Having achieved this crucial insight, Yayati retrieves his old age from Peru, returns his son's youthfulness.
Gives him his youth back.
Yes, and anoints Peru as the king of all the world, and then retires to the forest to undertake austerities.
Wow.
This story is a timeless lesson in spiritual growth and the ultimate unsatisfying nature of worldly pleasures.
So ends Chapter 10 in Book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
We now enter Chapter 11, Yayati's son Yadu. Now this lineage, it's highly praised because, as the text states, Lord Vishnu revealed an aspect of himself within it.
Okay, so very significant.
Very. It's described as an immeasurable greatness that brings reward to all who praise it, and simply hearing about this lineage frees one from all misdeeds. This immediately elevates its spiritual significance.
The chapter details the lineage of Yadu, leading to the famous thousand-armed Arjuna Kartavirya.
Yes, Arjuna Kartavirya. He was a truly extraordinary king. He worshipped Dattatreya, an aspect of the Lord, and received incredible boons.
Right.
1,000 arms, constant virtue, victory by truth, the ability to rule with justice, invincibility, and the unique condition that he would only meet death at the hands of a person with global fame.
That's quite a specific list.
It is. His reign was legendary, ruling all 7 continents superbly for 85,000 years.
85,000. And if you want a truly powerful anecdote that challenges common perceptions of might.
Ah, yes, the Ravacha incident.
Tell us about that.
Even when drunk and relaxing in the Narmada River, Arjuna effortlessly managed to bind Ravana, the future 10-headed demon king.
Ravan?
Yes. Ravana, who was arrogant after conquering all deities and Gandharvas, was made to stand humiliatingly in a corner of Arjuna's city like a sacrificial animal.
That really puts Ravana's supposed invincibility into perspective.
It really does. What's fascinating here is that even with such immense power and the boon of invincibility, Arjuna Kartavirya's death was predestined.
How so?
He was indeed slain by Parashurama, another powerful aspect of Lord Narsya, thus fulfilling that boon he had received about dying by someone globally famous.
Oh, okay.
From Arjuna Kartavirya's 100 sons, the Vent clan arose, setting the stage for future divine manifestations, as we will soon see.
So ends Chapter 11 in Book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
Let's delve into Chapter 12. Yadu's descendant Jamaga rescues a princess. Yadu's son Kruta's lineage leads to Shashabindu,
Okay.
a supreme lord who possessed 14 great gems and had 100,000 wives and 1,000,000 sons.
1,000,000 sons. That gives you a sense of the sheer abundance and power associated with these mythical kings.
Exactly. But the focus shifts to Jamaga, a descendant of Shashabindu, who is notably introduced as a king dominated by his wife, Shebya.
Now, I don't know about you, but a king being dominated by his wife in an ancient epic, that's a truly relatable human dynamic, isn't it? Even among divine lineages.
Absolutely. It's these moments of unexpected humor that remind us how universal some human experiences are, regardless of the era or the divine context.
So despite wanting a son, Jamaga couldn't take another wife because he was afraid of Shebya.
Pretty much. After a battle, he discovered a beautiful royal princess wailing in fear. He decided to marry her for progeny, but fearing Shebya, he lifted the princess into his chariot and took her back to the palace, hoping to gain his first wife's permission.
This sounds like a recipe for a disaster. The moment of confrontation must have been pure dramatic tension.
Or it was. Shebya greets her victorious husband and immediately spots the beautiful girl. Her lower lip trembles with jealousy, and she sharply asks, "Who's this girl riding in your chariot?"
And Jamaga, terrified.
Blurted out without thinking, "She's my daughter-in-law."
His daughter-in-law. But he didn't have a son.
Exactly. Shebya, not one to be easily fooled, delivered a sharp reply that must have made his heart sink. "I've never had a son, and you have no other wife. Which of your sons did this girl marry?"
He's cornered. What does he say?
In a moment of desperation, Jamaga makes a spontaneous prophetic lie to avoid further argument. "She'll marry the son that you will have one day."
Wow. That's quite a claim.
Surprisingly, Shebya is satisfied with this answer, and here's the miraculous part. A few days later, despite being past childbearing age, Shebya conceives a son simply due to their conversation about the birth.
No way. The power of suggestion.
Or perhaps divine will responding to the situation. The son, named Vidarbha, later grows up and marries the very princess his father had spontaneously called his daughter-in-law, thus fulfilling Jamaga's desperate prophecy.
That's a truly wonderful tale. Illustrates not just marital dynamics, but also the power of words, even those spoken out of fear.
Exactly. And the moral offered at the end is that one who hears this lineage while filled with perfect faith is freed from all misdeeds, suggesting that even actions born of imperfection can lead to positive outcomes through divine will and unwavering faith.
So ends chapter 12 in book 4 of the glorious Vyapuro.
We're now at chapter 13, Koina and the Simantaka Jewel. This chapter dives into a complex narrative involving a powerful gem and its ripple effects.
Okay.
The lineage brings us to Satrashita, who, through intense devotion to the sun god, Aditya, is granted the Simantaka Jewel.
This is no ordinary gem.
Far from it. The text describes its incredible power. It produced 8 measures of gold daily. And even more significantly, it prevented natural disasters throughout the kingdom, including droughts, pests, fires, floods, and famines. It's a literal source of prosperity and protection.
So a very valuable asset. Lord Katwa wanted it, right?
Well, Katna, understanding the jewel's power, believed it would greatly benefit his grandfather, King Ugrasena. However, fearing it would cause division within his own family, he didn't requisition it. Satrachita, sensing Kainta's desire, became suspicious and instead gave the jewel to his brother, Prasena. The jewel, however, had a crucial condition. It bestowed good qualities only on a virtuous wearer. But for an unvirtuous one, it would lead to death.
Foreshadowing. And so trouble begins.
Right. Prasena, wearing the jewel, goes hunting and is killed by a lion. The lion is then killed by Jambavant, the king of bears, who takes the jewel to his cave as a plaything for his son.
Okay.
But back in Varka, rumors spread like wildfire among the Yadavas. Katna wants the jewel and Prasena has disappeared. This must be Katna's doing.
This immediately sets up a major public relations crisis for Kauna. He's accused of murder and theft.
Exactly. To clear his name, Kent sets off, follows the tracks, finds Prasena and the lion dead, and traces Jambavant to his cave.
And inside.
He hears the nurse singing a lullaby confirming the jewel's location. A lion killed Prasena, and Jambavant killed the lion. Don't cry, little Sukumara, the Simantaka is yours.
Well, confirmation.
Yep. Kent then fights Jambavant for an astonishing 21 days.
21 days.
Back in Vadaka, the Yadavas, thinking Pantsa dead, even perform funerary rites for him. After this epic battle, Jambavant, weakened, recognizes Ken as an aspect of Lord Narya.
The recognition.
Kenten accepts his daughter Jambavati in marriage and takes the jewel to clear his name. He returns to Dwaraka, fully exonerated, and returns the Simantaka to Satrajita.
Case closed. But the drama isn't over, is it?
Not by a long shot. Satrajita, feeling he had stained Kentna's reputation, offers his daughter Satahama to Kenta in marriage. This decision, however, angers other Yadava leaders who had also desired Satyabhama. Feeling slighted, they conspire, and one of them, Satadhanvan, murders Satrajita in his sleep and seizes the jewel.
Oh my goodness. More murder over this jewel.
Satyavam informs Kuksa, who is furious. Kissa and Balarama pursue Satadhanvan, who gives the jewel to Akrura for safekeeping. Kessa kills Satadhanvan but doesn't find the jewel. Balarama, enraged by Kutsa's perceived hankering after wealth, curses him and dramatically separates, going off to Videha.
Wow. This is a fascinating depiction of internal conflict, even within the divine family. It's not all harmonious.
It truly is. Akrura, meanwhile, becomes obsessed with the jewel's immense gold-producing power. He performs sacrifices to protect himself, as killing someone engaged in such a rite is tantamount to Brahminicide.
Clever.
Under his possession, the kingdom prospers, free from calamities. But when Akrura leaves Dwaraka, disasters immediately strike, prompting the Yadavas to realize Akrura's crucial importance.
So they figure out he has the jewel.
Kainas, using his supreme wisdom, deduces that Akrura must have the jewel due to the kingdom's prosperity in his presence.
So Kaina calls a Yadava assembly.
Yes, and confronts Akrura with an amusing speech, asking him to reveal the jewel for the good of all. Akrura, fearing a search, produces the Simantaka from his dhoti, and a lovely light spread in all directions.
Finally, so who gets it? Both Balarama and Satyabhama desire the jewel.
But Kateya, in his ultimate wisdom, makes a crucial decision. He declares his name cleared and explains the jewel's condition. It benefits the realm only if worn by a pure and chaste person adhering to virtue.
Okay, the condition again.
And here's the brilliance of Kaina's wisdom. He admits that he, with his 16,000 wives,
16,000.
Satyabhama being married, and Balarama having succumbed to drink, are all technically unqualified to bear the jewel by its own strict conditions.
So none of them are pure enough according to the rules.
Right. Therefore, he asks the wealthy Akrura, who is fit, to continue bearing the jewel for the prosperity of the entire realm. Akrura agrees, wearing it openly.
That's amazing. It demonstrates Kunta's supreme wisdom. His focus not on personal gain or greed, but on the greater good of the entire society.
Exactly. And the moral given is that anyone who recalls how Lord Kent was absolved of this false accusation will not suffer even the slightest allegation himself. His senses will never be impaired, and he'll be absolved of all his sins.
So ends chapter 13 in book 4 of the glorious View Puref.
Now we come to chapter 14. The ancestry of Kantha's father Vasudeva and his nemesis Shishupala. This chapter unravels the complex genealogy leading to Vasudeva, also known as Anakadundubi.
Why that name?
It means divine drums because apparently celestial drums sounded at his birth, foreseeing Vishnu's manifestation through him.
Ah, okay. The lineage includes his many brothers and sisters, notably Kutha, who is better known as Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas.
Indeed, this is where we encounter the famous Pandavas. Putta, who was given to the childless king Kunti, bore 3 sons through divine blessings. Yudhishthira with Dharma, Bhima with Vayu, and Arjuna with Indra.
And Kurt.
Earlier, as an unmarried young woman, she had also borne Karn with the sun god. Putnu's younger wife, Madri, similarly bore Nakula and Sahadeva with the divine Ashvins. These are, of course, the central heroes of the Mahabharata.
The chapter then traces the ancestry of Kunti's nemesis, Shishupala, through Vasudeva's sisters.
Right. And this leads to one of the most profound and, frankly, counterintuitive philosophical teachings in the Purat. The revelation of Shishupala's past lives and his unique path to liberation.
This is a core teaching point, isn't it? Shishupala's previous lives are revealed.
Yes, to be the unruly Daitya king Hiranyakashipu, who was slain by Nusya, Vitu's man-lion form. Then reborn as the 10-headed Ravana, slain by Rama, another human form of Yo. And finally, he was reborn as Shupala, the overlord of the Siddhis, filled with an intense, unwavering hostility towards Lord Vishnu, who had manifested as Kut.
And here's the paradox that Maitreya finds so perplexing, leading right into chapter 15. Hiranyakashipu, Ravan, and Shishupala.
Exactly. Maitreya asks, how is it that Hiranyakashipu and Ravan, though slain by Vishnu, did not achieve immediate union with the divine, but Shishupala did?
It's a great question. How does Parashara explain it?
Parashara clarifies the distinction beautifully. It's all about the nature of their mental focus. Hiranyakashipu, though killed by Nusya, didn't realize it was the Supreme Lord who had slain him. His mind was solely obsessed with his own excellence and merit.
Ego-driven.
Completely, leading to his rebirth as Ravan. Ravan, in turn, also failed to achieve union. His mind was obsessed with desire specifically for Sita and worldly power. He saw Rama as merely a mortal king.
So he didn't recognize the divine nature of his slayer either.
Correct. Even at the moment of his death, he failed to grasp it.
But then comes Shishupala. He was reborn with intensified hatred towards Vyu, who had manifested as Kentek.
Yes. And because of this deep, constant hostility, whether walking, eating, bathing, sitting, reclining, or anything else, the image of Vyu never left his mind.
Constant focus, even if negative.
He constantly uttered Vishnu's names, even if in abuse, and perpetually beheld his form, lotus eyes, golden garments, discus, mace. This continuous mental absorption, even though born of hatred, paradoxically freed him from passion, anger, and other faults.
So the intensity itself was purifying.
In a way, yes. The instant Kincha's discus struck him, recalling the divine, all his sins were burned away, and even though he was slain by Kentek, he achieved absorption into him.
Incredible. That's the broader counterintuitive teaching then.
Exactly. Parashara concludes by stating, when the Lord is called by name or contemplated, even by a person bound by hatred, he bestows rewards that even gods or demigods or any other being find hard to win. How much greater the reward, then, for those who are filled with perfect faith? It's a profound statement on the power of unwavering mental focus on the divine, regardless of the emotional valence, be it love or hate, that drives that focus.
Amazing.
The chapter then shifts to detail the vast descendants of Vasudeva and Kos, including the birth of Balarama and Kuni's own miraculous birth and immense family. The sheer scale of the Yadu clan, with 38 million in-house instructors teaching archery,
38 million.
underscores their divine purpose to vanquish demons reborn as tyrannical kings, with Vyu as their guide.
So ends chapter 15 in Book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
Next, we have chapter 16, Yayati's son Turvasu. This chapter is brief but significant.
Right, it highlights the long-lasting effects of a curse. Turvasu, you'll recall, was one of Yayati's sons who refused to exchange his youth for his father's old age.
Correct. As a result, Yayati cursed him, stating his descendants would never wield sovereignty. And this curse indeed played out.
How so?
The chapter explains that due to Yayati's curse, Turvasu's lineage had to merge with that of Puru through adoption.
Oh, linking back to Puru again.
Exactly. This detail reinforces the theme of karmic consequences extending across generations and the interconnectedness of these royal families.
So ends chapter 16 in Book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
Now, chapter 17, Yayati's son Dryu. Like Turvasu, Dryu also refused his father's request to exchange youth.
Another cursed son.
Yes. His lineage leads to Pracetas, whose 100 sons famously became overlords of the heretical barbarians of the north.
That's a fascinating detail. It connects these ancient royal lines to the spread of different cultures and maybe even belief systems beyond the sort of Vedic mainstream.
It really suggests a geographical and cultural expansion where descendants of a core lineage diverge into groups perceived as heretical or barbarian from the peerage's specific viewpoint. It shows the fluidity of identity and the emergence of distinct peoples.
So ends chapter 17 in Book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
Moving on to chapter 18, Yayati's son Anu. Anu also had 3 sons. His lineage includes figures like Ushanara, whose son Sibi is known for his generosity.
Okay.
This chapter also introduces Bali, whose wife, through a sage, gave birth to 5 sons. And their lineages and 5 distinct kingdoms were named after them.
So this is like a foundational myth for the geographical and political divisions of ancient India.
Precisely. And in a crucial detail for the Mahabharata narrative, Aga's line leads to Adhyata, who famously finds Karti abandoned by his mother Puta in a basket on the Ganga and adopts him as his own son.
Connecting the lunar dynasty directly to a pivotal figure in the great epic.
So ends chapter 18 in Book 4 of the glorious Vishnu.
We turn now to chapter 19, Yati's son Puru. Puru, you'll remember, was the selfless son who accepted Yayati's old age. His lineage is a truly illustrious one.
Extremely important. It leads to Duyanta, who fathers the universal sovereign, Bharata.
Bharata, after whom Bhartavara, India, is named.
Exactly. The name of Bharata is given special significance, with a verse explaining it. Duyanta, cherish Farasva, your son. The son, as the bearer of semen, saves his forefathers from destruction wreaked by Yama, highlighting the importance of progeny for ancestral salvation.
And then comes Vitatha.
Yes, Bharata's wives kill their sons because they don't resemble him. To get progeny, he performs a sacrifice. The Maruts give him Haradvaja, also called Vitatha, born in a complex way involving Mamata and Bahaspati's sperm.
A divinely engineered birth.
Pretty much. From Vitatha's line, we get Hastin, who founded the famous city of Hastinapura, a central setting for the Mahabharata.
And we also see further examples of vulnerability here.
Yes. Ajamicha's son Kamfa leads to Mithapiti, from whom the Kajiana Brahmins are descended, showing a clear shift from Patriya to Brahmin status.
Again, reinforcing that spiritual pursuit could transcend birth.
Right. This chapter also introduces key Mahabharata figures like Drupada and Tutijumna, both central to the Pachava-Kaurava conflict. And finally, Adishamita's son Kat's line leads to Kuru.
Kuru, who creates the sacred plain of Kurukshetra, the ultimate setting for the Bharata war. From Kuru's lineage, we get Jarasandha, a powerful king of Magadha.
So many connections building up here.
So ends chapter 19 in Book 4 of the glorious Vishnu Purana.
We've reached chapter 20, the lineages of the Kauravas and Pandavas, which brings us right to the core of the Mahabharata epic.
Exactly. The lineage leads to Pratipa and his 3 sons, Devapi, Sutanu, and Balika.
And Sutanu is described with a remarkable gift.
Yes, each old man he touches with his hands grows young again and discovers perfect peace. Santi, hence the name Sutanu.
But despite this gift, a major crisis strikes his kingdom, a 12-year drought.
Right. The Brahmins reveal it's because he ruled and married before his elder brother Devapi, which is against Dharma, against righteous conduct.
The rule of primogeniture was critical.
Very. They advise him to abdicate in favor of Devapi, unless Devapi shows faults such as heresy.
And this is where the minister steps in. This is a critical moment illustrating the importance of Dharma for kings. Sitanu's chief minister cunningly plots to prevent Devapi's rule, influencing him with anti-Vedic doctrines.
Oh dear.
When Devapi speaks words inconsistent with the Vedas in front of the assembled Brahmins, he becomes compromised. As soon as he is tainted by this heresy, the drought ends, and Shitanu is legitimized to rule.
Wow. It emphasizes the absolute necessity of adherence to Vedic tradition for righteous kingship.
Absolutely. The chapter then continues with the intertwined lineages leading to the Kauravas and Pothas. Shitanu's son, with the river goddess Gaga, was the wise and revered Bhuma.
Right.
Later, Kaldayapayana, also known as Vyasa, fathered sons with Visatravira's widows, Ambika and Ambalika, resulting in Dutharava and Bokva.
The fathers of the opposing sides.
Diptara famously had 100 sons, the Kauravas, with Duryodhana and Dusasana being the foremost. Pup, cursed and unable to sire children himself, had his 5 sons, the Patavas, through divine blessings with various deities.
Yudhira, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadeva.
Those are the ones. The narrative culminates with Abhimanyu, Arjuna's son, and his wife Uttara, who have Pardikite. And here's a truly miraculous survival story.
Pardik's story is amazing.
Parikate, while still in the womb, was burned to ashes by Shathaman's Brahmastra weapon, but he was miraculously restored to life by Lord Kenta himself.
Wow.
Parik goes on to rule the world, providing a direct link to the events at the very end of the Mahabharata epic.
So ends chapter 20 in book 4 of the glorious Visnu Purana.
We've journeyed through the past, and now, with chapter 21, the future descendants of Parikate, Parishara shifts to prophecy.
Looking ahead.
Yes, naming the kings who will appear in future in the lunar lineage. Parikate's son, Shatanika, is highlighted as a king who will study the Vedas, gain weapons, but ultimately become disillusioned with worldly pleasures and achieve final liberation under Shunaka's guidance. This emphasizes the spiritual journey that even powerful kings can undertake.
That's an important point. It also contains a significant geographical prediction, doesn't it?
It does. It states that Shatanika's descendant, Nishaknu, will reside in Kaushambi when Hastinapura is washed away by the Gauka.
Predicting a major natural disaster and a shift in royal capitals.
Exactly. The lunar lineage, according to this prophecy, will eventually end with Kamaka in the Kali age.
The Kali Yuga.
The text offers a poignant verse. The lineage, which was the origin of the Brahmins and Kshatriyas, and was honored by sagacious kings, will come to an end in the age of Kali with the king named Kamaka.
So ends chapter 21 in book 4 of the glorious Visnu Purana.
Our prophetic journey continues with chapter 22, the future descendants of the Hadbala. Parashara now names future kings in the Ikshvaku, or solar lineage, starting from Bahadbala.
Okay, and what's truly fascinating and an incredible intertextual link here is that this lineage explicitly includes names like Shukya, Sutadana, and Rahula.
Yes. This is really significant because these names are directly associated with the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, who was of the Shakya clan.
Right. Sudana was his father, and Rahula was his son.
Exactly. This fascinating connection places the historical Buddha within the ancient Puranic royal genealogies, offering a unique bridge between different spiritual traditions and narratives within the broader Indian context.
That's amazing. And the Ikshvaku lineage, much like the lunar line.
It's also prophesied to end in the Kali age, concluding with Sumitra.
So it ends chapter 22 in book 4 of the glorious Visnu Purana.
We proceed to chapter 23, the future descendants of Bhadratha. Parashara continues his prophecy, naming future kings of the Magadhas, beginning with Jarasandha, whom we encountered earlier.
Right, the king of Magadha.
These kings, descendants of Padatha, are prophesied to reign for 1,000 years.
1,000 years. That indicates a period of significant stability and power for their dynasty in the future, as seen from the Purus's perspective.
It does. This chapter, while primarily a list of names, gives us a sense of the endurance of certain powerful kingdoms through vast stretches of time. It sets the stage for the broader historical shifts that the final chapter will discuss.
So ends chapter 23 in book 4 of the glorious Visnu Purana.
And now we reach the culmination of book 4 with chapter 24, Future Kings, the Age of Kali.
The big finale. This chapter provides a truly fascinating and, well, often stark prophetic overview of various future royal houses and, crucially, the characteristics and decline of the Kali age itself.
It really does. The prophecies detail a succession of dynasties, the Pradyuta dynasts, the Sushanaga dynasty, and then the rise of Mahapadma, also known as Nanda, who is born to a Shudra mother and described as like a second Parachurama in his destruction of Kshatriyas. It's prophesied that from that time on, Shudras will be the rulers of the earth.
A major social shift predicted there.
Following the Nandas, the Mauryas rise, with the Brahmin Kaliya or Chanakya eradicating the 9 Nandas and anointing Chandragupta Maurya as king.
Famous historical figures.
Yes, the lineage continues through Bindusara, Ashokavardhana, and others. Then come the Sugas, followed by the Kajiana kings, and then the Andhra clan, who violently overthrow the Kavas.
It paints a picture of constant political upheaval and transitions of power.
Exactly. The Purana predicts numerous other dynasties and detailing their geographical distribution across diverse regions of India.
What's truly sobering, and perhaps the most impactful part of this chapter, is the detailed description of the qualities and decline of the Kali age.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak. The rulers are prophesied to have little mercy and be subject to intense fury, ever delighting in injustice and immorality.
Not good rulers.
They will slay women, children, and cattle, covet the possessions of others but will remain weak, rising and falling quickly, short-lived, having many desires but few morals.
And the societal decay.
Depicted in stark terms, wealth alone will confer nobility. Sex will be the only bond in marriage. Falsehood will be the basis of trade and warfare. The earth will only be valued for its minerals.
Wow.
The Purana paints this picture. The sacred thread will be the only measure of a Brahmin. External trappings the sole indication of one's stage of life. Dishonesty becomes a profession. A simple bath counts as purification. Donations are equated with religion.
A real loss of inner meaning.
Completely. Even human lifespans dwindle. No one will live longer than 23 years. This is a truly profound decline from earlier ages, emphasizing moral and spiritual degradation.
But the Purana doesn't end on such a despairing note, does it?
No, thankfully. It prophesies the end of Kali and the reestablishment of virtue. Lord Vasudeva, Vithun, will manifest as Kalki in the village of Sapla.
Kalki, the final avatar.
Kalki, endowed with perfections, will annihilate evil Malekas and Dasyus and reestablish this whole world in virtue. The minds of those who live at the very end of the age will be stainless, clear and pure, becoming the seeds for future humanity, adhering to the virtues of the Kalta age, the Golden Age.
A return to purity. And there's an astronomical sign.
Yes, it marks this cosmic shift. When the moon, the sun, the constellation of Tia and Jupiter all gather in one mansion, the age of Kaita will begin.
Connecting cosmic cycles to human history.
The Purana then gives us the duration of the Kali age. It descended precisely when Vyan, as Kaita, returned to heaven.
Ah, his presence held it back.
As long as he was on Earth, Kali had no effect. The total duration is stated as 300,000 years, according to the reckoning of men, plus another 60,000.
Emphasizing the vastness of these cosmic time cycles.
And here's where the overarching philosophical message of impermanence truly shines. It mentions that Devapi and Maru, 2 powerful figures from earlier chapters, still live in Kalapa village, possessing great yogic power.
Still alive after all this time.
They will return in the Taita age to renew the line of Manu, showing the cyclical nature of time and the preservation of divine order.
Parashara concludes by pointing out the ultimate delusion of kings.
Right. All these kings have met their end while harboring thoughts like these. How may I make this mountain mine? How may my son possess the earth? How may I keep this in my family? Their bodies perish, their dominion is fleeting.
And this leads to the ultimate philosophical climax, the Song of the Earth.
Yes. The earth herself, personified, mocks the delusion of kings who believe they own her. She sings, "How could these kings be so deluded when they're said to be so wise? Their nature is like the foam on water, yet their hearts are full of confidence."
Powerful imagery.
She laughs at their futile attempts to conquer her when death is near at hand.
What's the Earth's profound message?
To have dominion over me, this whole world with oceans all around, is nothing when compared with self-control, as the reward for self-control is liberation.
A truly profound statement on the ultimate goal. Not external control, but internal control.
Exactly. Fathers fight sons, brothers fight brothers, all over the delusion of ownership, and the earth, observing their possessiveness, feels compassion for their foolishness. The impact of hearing the earth's song is described as melting away possessiveness like ice exposed to heat.
Wow.
Parsha summarizes that all the great kings, Raghu, Ikshvaku, Janu, Mantha, Sagara, Yayati, Nahua, were ultimately undone by mighty time. Now all that's left are anecdotes.
Just stories.
The ultimate wisdom conveyed is that knowing this, a wise person will never call his sons or wife, his house or fields, his goods or chattels his own. True wisdom means renouncing attachment even to his own body.
So ends chapter 24 in Book 4 of the glorious Visnu Purana.
Thus concludes the major symbolic and narrative revelations of Book 4 of the glorious Visnu Purana.
Well, we've certainly journeyed through countless generations, haven't we? From the very dawn of creation with Brahma, navigated the intricate solar and lunar dynasties, witnessed epic battles, and heard tales of divine intervention, and crucially, encountered these profound lessons on desire, attachment, and the cyclical nature of time.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is how these ancient narratives don't just tell stories. They embed deep philosophical insights right within the fabric of history, or what's presented as history.
Absolutely.
From the paradox of Sauvari's attachment, starting with a fish,
Right.
to the stunning idea that even intense hatred, when focused unwaveringly on the divine, can actually lead to liberation. These texts consistently challenge us to look beyond the surface.
They really do. The Visnu Purana reminds us that worldly power and possessions are ultimately fleeting. As the earth herself sings, the ultimate liberation comes not from conquering kingdoms, but from conquering the self.
That's the core message.
So if all earthly dominion is ultimately just an anecdote in the face of mighty time, as the Purana tells us, what does this mean for our own pursuits, our achievements, our acquisitions?
It's a deep question.
What would it truly look like to live with the wisdom that even our own bodies are not truly ours in an ultimate sense? Perhaps the real legacy isn't what we build externally, but how deeply we understand the fleeting nature of all things and how we apply that understanding to our own lives.
It definitely gives you pause for thought. This deep dive has only just scratched the surface, really, of the richness within the Visnu Purana. There's so much more there.
Absolutely.
We really encourage you, the listener, to explore more of these ancient texts for yourself and discover the layers upon layers of wisdom hidden within their narratives.